thing that comes up from clients, or quite often that we see, is that is person-centered care.
Yeah.
And companies' different approaches to trying to achieve that, and how that's evidenced and recorded. So
yeah.
I don't. How do you?
So we do a person-centered review. So we've just actually audited how we're doing things, and we've just changed the way we do our person-centered review to make it more user-friendly. Staff are going to be managers are getting training on that at the moment, but it's about ensuring that the individual voice is listened to, and that's what a person-centered review does.
Yeah.
So you ask all the team who care for that individual, okay, what's working well, what's not, and also all the other stakeholders. So it would be local authority, the social worker, the parents, the doctor, all those key stakeholders. What's working well, what's not working well, and then what's important to them now, what's important to them in the future. And you're just collating all that information, and then you set your action plan, but with realistic goals. Now, sometimes people come to those meetings and go, well, we want this. Okay, is that important to the individual because it's about them? No, that's what you want. Sorry, this is a person-centered review. We're looking at what the individual wants. And you bring it back all the time to, this is the individual, this is what they want.
Yeah.
This is what they've already expressed their likes and wishes, or, okay, that's a good idea, but how can we put that into practice? Because actually, that might fit into a long-term thing because we can't get them there yet. And so it's just ensuring that everything you're doing is for them and it's in their best interest.
Yeah.
So, and ensuring that that's documented within, preferably with as many people as possible who know that individual. If that individual hasn't got capacity, if the individual's got capacity, then that makes it a lot easier. But if they haven't, then it's ensuring that, okay, how do we know that this is what they want? Because it might just be what we think is good. We've got individuals who finally might say, we want them to go out every day and do activities. Do you want to go out every day and do activities? Do you want to go out every day and go for a long walk and go to do all these things? They might not want to do that every day. So they might want to do it just once a week. And then, because most of ours are a lot younger, they might be happy on their iPad, they might be happy on their console, they might be happy doing other things instead of going out to museums and doing all the things in the Sea Life Centre, what you might take as important.
Making assumptions.
But how is that what they want? And also understanding that as they get older, and they might want to do other things, which they might have done a few years ago. So it's ensuring that actually we look at it from their point of view, and to do that you need as many people in there, if they haven't got capacity, to advocate for them.
And it's like when you're in your 20s, early 20s or teenager, you might want to go to a nightclub. By the time, well, certainly from my perspective, by the time you're 45, it's not particularly what you want to do. Well, maybe sometimes, but yeah. So it's taking into account that people change, like you're saying. That someone's wants and needs when they're young aren't going to be necessarily the same, or they might be.
Exactly, and it's ensuring that what they want, not what everybody else wants. And so it's ensuring that there's a process in place. A person-centered review does that. Ensuring that actually it's no good having a person-centered review without anybody there and just doing a paper exercise, because you won't get that. However, you can, if people can't attend, you can send that information out to everybody and then get as many people as you can in there. But then what you do is in that meeting you go, well, actually we've got all this collated from other people, it's here, we're sharing it, and now we're going to collate it onto one master one, and we're going to set some action plans from that we're going to be realistic what they want, because we've done all our discussions first.
I think it's with regards to processes, isn't it? And shift patterns and different things like that. We had a client recently where one of the managers that I was speaking to, she'd gone into a service as the new manager, and everybody was put to bed at the same time. And
put to bed, that's
everybody was put to bed at the same time. And one of the family members actually said, my mum never went to bed early. She said she's a night owl, she likes to stay up and watch TV. And then people getting obviously made to get up early as well, so that they're all dressed, ready for the next shift pattern starting, for the new team that were coming in that morning. And it's just, there was nothing around what do the individuals want to do, what time they want to go to bed. And it's difficult if everybody's doing it all at different times. But some people might be happy if you said, well, typically we put bedtimes at a certain time. Some people might be like, I'll go whenever. But then
we've moved away from that culture.
So, but it's taken into consideration, in their home life or personal life, and then growing up sort of time, what people prefer to do.
I think as well, other than the safety requirement. I think the person-centred care is, I would suggest it's probably up there in one of the most, that's the area where you are likely to receive the most complaints from the family. For both of the examples you've just given, you've included family there. So my mum never went to bed at that time. Oh well, there's policy that we get residents put to bed at 9:30.
Yeah.
That's you can see the writings on the wall there, isn't it, for a complaint, and that's clearly not person-centred care, is it? And I think I'm certainly over the last couple of years I've seen person-centred care as one of the secondary after the safe and well led. Certainly, I'd say that's probably the most common criticism of the providers, because they just don't adapt. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, when they came to the home 5 years ago, their interests were X, Y, Z, as Sam's just said. Well, that's fascinating 5 years ago, but that invariably is not going to be the case now. So again, all of these tie into each other, or you can make an argument for them to do so, but that's being responsive, isn't it? It's listening to your service users when they do have the capacity, and having the systems in place to understand and be receptive when they don't have capacity. But just because it's on paper and it's dated, be it in a risk assessment, an action plan, it's not set in stone. And if you have that mentality, again, the CQC certainly with the new framework are going to be all over that as an issue, I think.
I think that shows a cultural thing, though, isn't it? It's the culture of the care home where we're going to dictate to you. Person-centred care says you're in charge.
Yes.
And that's the same with what we do in co-production. Is putting them and giving them a voice, because co-production is about allowing them to have a voice and have a say in everything. So it's no longer run by the top, those few people, but it's run by the many. And I can remember once we're managing a residence for dementia, and a lady came in, the family said, oh, she gets up at 2 a.m. because she used to do shift work, and she's always done that. So okay, that's fine. And we put that in a support plan, and I told the night staff, and then someone complained and said, we're going to get someone up at 2 a.m. And so CQC came in, and she's always got up at 2 a.m. Her family have said this, look, this is where it's all done. Oh, okay, that's fine. Because you've got the paper trail, you've spoke to the family, it's what she's always done, even before she got dementia, and even during dementia, she still likes to get up. Her body clock wakes her up at 2 a.m, so why not get her up at 2 a.m? But she likes to go to bed earlier. Yes, that's fine, that's what she wants. Other people, they might want to get up at another time. Does it matter?
I think person-centred care was often seen when it was first kind of coined. I guess it would have been like in the 90s or something. It was kind of seen as like a want. Oh well, people want to have person-centred care. Well, no, it's actually a need, and now it's in law with the mental capacity that you've got to take people's needs and wants into account in everything you do, and it's got to be the thread that runs through everything that you kind of assess, everything that you care plan for. We don't have a choice in this. It's not like the fluffy stuff. It's Mental Capacity Act is law. You've got to do it. You've got to take people's views into account predominantly. And yes, family members and people that know them well have to be brought into account as well. But I remember when I was a student nurse, it would have been about 1990, showing my age, 1999, something like that. And it wasn't in social care, it was in a hospital, like a little cottage hospital in a little market town. And this elderly lady said she wanted a drink of water, and there was nothing on her notes to say she couldn't have a drink of water. It's not like nil by mouth, or she had an operation due later that day or the next day, anything like that. So I went and got her a jug of water, and she was so grateful, and she was like, oh, thanks so much, we don't get water when we want it, and this is going back quite a long time, I'm sure it still does happen. And I said, why? She said, I don't know. So I spoke to the sister about it, considering I'm a student nurse and I'm kind of working out what the hell's going on. And the sister of the ward said, oh, well, if you give her one, they'll all want one. And I was like, and the problem is, well, then they'll all need to go to the toilet. And that's a normal human function, that if you drink water, you're going to need to go to the, what's the issue? Oh, well, we're short-staffed. So this is the kind of thing you're up against sometimes, and that is very institutional. That's abuse.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not seeing people's wants as a like a kind of fluffy thing that we maybe should be doing. It's what you definitely should be doing, and addressing whatever people want as part of their life. And if they want a drink of water, it makes them go to the loo. You know, that's kind of just normal human life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've got that side of the coin where it's the business needs interrupting
Yeah.
their needs.
Yeah.
But I guess on the flip side of that, sometimes you can have the family whose assessment of what those needs might be for the individual are very different from actually what the individual might want.
Yes.
Where you've got a difficult kind of conversation with the family.
Then you just got to speak, and sometimes in those cases, what I've done in the past is try to get an advocate for them as well. And when you can get an advocate to speak for them on their behalf, that helps, because they're the one who's going to then speak, and you're supporting that. But it's, if you can't get that, it's getting everybody around the table, multidisciplinary meetings. So you've got the social worker, you've got the commissioners there, you've got the doctor, you've got any nurse input, you've got the staff and the family. But then you discuss that, so it's not just you seen as the one who's making all the decisions or coming against the family. It's actually everybody going, then actually this is what we should be doing in the best interest, or that's, we feel that knowing the individual, that's what should happen. And then the family going, okay, it's not just you as the provider saying that, it's everybody. So, and that takes the sting away from them then looking at you in a hostile way.
Is that, this might be a thing that might not be, I'm just interested, but is it easier to implement a lot of this stuff we've been discussing for private funded clients? Is it more difficult timescale wise, and for contracts with local authorities, and is there a difference?
Sometimes it's hard to get the local authorities and the RCB to actually meet with you. So that's the problem. Sometimes if you're trying to get a meeting with them or trying to get hold of them, and they're all very busy, so it can be protracted.
Yeah.
That's the only problem. Yes, but you can implement a lot of this, because if they can't meet with you, you email them and tell them, right, we need an answer on this. Can you give your views? Can you give your views? And so you don't have to have everybody in the same room at once. You can just document that. Okay, the commissioners have said this in an email. The social worker said this. The doctor said this, and you've got all that happening. You might not have done it together, but then you share all those opinions with everybody. Yep. And then you come back. Is everybody in agreement? Yes, we're all in agreement. Okay. So you've just got to find ways of working around that. And COVID did help with that, because now a lot more meetings are taking place via Teams, and people are more, they can fit a 15-minute team meeting into their agenda, and travelling to that place, going for the face-to-face meeting. So that does help. Yes.
And how does CQC see that? So all that's going on, but you've not had the meeting yet, and then you get CQC coming in to inspect. Do we feel their understanding of that, or is it problematic?
So if you give me an example, I can give you.
So we've you take on a new client, you're working on an individualised care plan. Maybe their needs have changed, and you brought in those third parties, but you've not had the meeting to openly discuss it in a forum together yet, and the changes haven't been made or agreed upon or implemented. But in the meantime, CQC come in to inspect you, and they can see that.
So everything's always a working process, so it's all fluid, isn't it? So I would say if CQC come in and you're still in organising the meeting, but you can show them, here's the email I sent to everybody who needs to attend. They've all said they can't attend a physical meeting, but we've sent out all the documentation for them all to give their comments. They've all come back. Now we've sent that out to them, and we're waiting for their feedback. They'll go, okay. And in the meantime, we've done this.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine with that. And it might be that. So I've done one recently where we could only have a short period of time to discuss things. So we sent all the information out. We had a short discussion with the key people who could attend. And then I said, right, after this, we're setting one for 4 to 6 weeks. This is a patient centre review where we'll meet with the other people who couldn't attend. So we'll all be here then for a Teams meeting, or some will be face to face. So we've had an initial meeting. We've sent out information. We've got everybody's feedback. But we're just taking it a bit longer, but we're already putting things in place. So CQC came, you've asked everybody their opinion, they've given you back, you've collated it, you've discussed that with the key people. However, others come attend, but they come to the next one, but you've shared everything with them and you put that in place. You're doing what you can do. Because there are those situations, for whatever reason, that some things aren't dealt with as quick as you want, but you're proving everything. And the care is still being met, and the primary thing is that the individual needs are being met and they're safe.
I think time constraints as well play a part, because if it's commissioned from a local authority and it's home care, for instance, and they're only commissioning, you know, half an hour calls for personal care reasons, for, you know, meals, times, things like that, and then CQC speak to the service user and they turn around and say, you know, I used to go shopping every Friday, or the Christmas markets are here now, I want to go to the Christmas market. If the local authorities are not commissioning the time to the home care provider to deliver that care and support, then that's not personalised. I think that's where they'll be, because even 10 years ago, the shopping calls, the companion calls, the, you know, just going and sitting with people or playing a game of chess or whatever it is that they wanted to do were much more frequent than they are now. A lot of the times now it's the bare minimum. It's in, you know, we'll go in, get them up, dressed, meals, you know, personal care, things like that. So I think that social element has taken a back step with when the time constraints, and I think that's where the personalised side of things will be challenged, because there's not enough time to do what a person wants to do.
So what I've done, so when prior to the work with Happy Future, when I worked for another organisation, I was a registered manager, and that was for LD dom care. I used to challenge the local authority and say, right, you know, Mary is having this care, but she actually needs this, and we can't achieve that in that time. So we'd constantly go back to them and say, can we have an increase in hours? Can we have this for them? It will increase their quality of life. And then we'd have a meeting, and if they came back and said no, okay, right, okay, but we've documented that, and then we'd go back again, and we would find other ways, and maybe if we could reach it somewhere else, but we would continually have that meeting, because actually from a provider point of view, if you're delivering, say, 10 hours a week to Mary, and you've got loads of Marys who you're doing 10 hours to, but you want to grow, it's easy to see if that package can increase and take on a few more, because then you've got all the paperwork and all the other logistics to go on with that. So it's easier, and those packages usually do increase, but you've just got to document it. Often it comes down to staff not documenting that, oh, we've gone in, everything's fine, Mary, but actually what's happening is, what's not recorded is that they've actually not been able to get to the next call on time because they've stayed about 5 minutes later. So it's about documenting and saying to the commissioner, this time isn't, and it's having an impact, and we need to ensure that, because it's a requirement that we give travel time, it's a requirement that we do this, but actually we're failing here because you won't give us the appropriate time.
Or even that Mary's asked again.
Mary's asked.
Am I going shopping this week? I'm sorry, no, it's not been. You know, even those requests that you can evidence time and time again, she's asking frequently, when is she going shopping? So can we not please have this time?
And then also, what after the past we do at Happy Futures is if something is stopping us from delivering the care we need. So I was trying to organise one of those meetings and it wasn't happening. It was supposed to be organised by someone else, and we was requesting it wasn't. Put safeguarding in against them. So you put the safeguarding in to the local authority and say, this is happening, this is actually now causing a safeguarding concern. And so you put one in. So then CQC can see, we've said this, we've said this, we've said this, we've done that. So in relation to someone who's elderly, it might affect their mental well-being. So you're actually causing emotional abuse because they can't do things they once did.
Yeah.
Like, it's a low level. Like, will anything come of it? No, they'll just back it back to you. But you're showing that you're doing everything you can do.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think is common practice care providers are doing that?
No, because they don't like putting safeguardings in. But they don't think about things.
It's not biting the hand that feeds you type stuff.
No, but I've never had any problems from when I put one in. That's what you would do. And if you don't, I don't think you're being responsive and you're not being safe. Because you're commissioned to look after that individual's care needs, and if that means that you've got to put a safeguarding in against someone, even if it's a low level, but it's showing that you're not happy with what's going on. You're not doing it maliciously, you're doing it, there's a genuine reason why I'm putting this in.
I think traditionally probably providers would receive safeguarding alerts from the commissioners and from the social workers and the assessment teams and whatever it might be, from local authorities. But you're both there for the same reason. It's part of multidisciplinary working, and so therefore, praise and compliments can go both ways, but so can alerts and concerns. So, and that is just showing when that's audited, and like you say, when CQC or stakeholders or management look back at that process that happened and that procedure that kind of took place, they can see that the management team did the right things at the right time in order to safeguard that person.
I mean, we usually, before I put one in, I do tell them, I say, look, if this isn't dealt with, I'm going to have to raise a safeguarding because I feel this is a mistake. And if I don't, and then we eventually.
Well, you learn from that concern, don't you? Everybody learns from it. So
And so this responsive and kind of person-centered care and demonstrate. I mean, that must be definitely in your world, the digital platforms and things.
yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, if you've got that kind of overview of what's going on across different settings, or even if it's just one setting, if you're evidencing whether it's lessons learned from a safeguarding concern or an accident or an incident, whether it's a compliment, whether it's a letter that's come in to say, we did X, Y, Z, it was a brilliant experience and it really I feel fulfilled by this thing that the staff team have put together for me, and the family member might say, this is outstanding care. It all needs to be documented, and it's that old thing that we've said from the beginning of time, the care set. If it's not written down, it's not evidence, it might as well have not happened. So that's the good stuff, it's the bad stuff and everything in between. So it's just having the systems and processes in place and make sure it's evidence and it can be quickly reviewed and looked at as and when needed.
I think one of the things that you just mentioned also, but it's also ensuring that organisations are also recording the near misses, because that's a key one in the new framework. Care providers are often very good at recording other things, but it's the near misses now that need to record as well. So if
preventative, isn't it?
So then you can show that you're being reflective and you're looking at if we didn't stop that from happening, so we do it with medication. If there was a near miss with medication, because maybe the pharmacist sent the medication, it's the right medication, right person, but actually the doses they've just not put on correctly. That's a near miss if the staff didn't administer it. So then we record that. Okay, what are we going to do about it? How can we learn about that? Okay, what can we put in place? So it's recording all those near misses so that you're being reflective. CQC now, they're going to be looking at those also, and I think they're going to be looking at those particularly because it's not something the care sector has really looked at. It's a health and safety thing, but it's not something which is often being done because of time.
Time and fear of I think if somebody nearly did something, sort of caught themselves in time of it not happening, sometimes they might feel like it's better to just not mention that. But for staff to understand that and recognise that actually somebody else could quite easily do that as well if we don't fix what that issue was and I didn't see that or why that nearly happened. So for that open culture and just people feeling that they can speak up about things and not fear.
Well, it's more suspicious if there isn't any safeguarding concerns from within an organisation, isn't it? It's kind of like what you're hiding.
It's definitely something we've tried to sort of preach to underwriters and insurers. Just because you've got a long list of incidents on a claims report, negative. No, it's like we try and look at it as a positive. If they're not actual claims, but they're more, look, this has happened. Potentially, it could be a claim.
It's been transparent.
We feel it's unlikely. But we're just letting you know, because if the insurer wants to proactively step in now to have an overview of what we're doing and how we're addressing it, then hopefully that's proactive rather than reactive, and that's a good thing.
Just a comment I'd just like to add on the software providers. It's the perfect vehicle in today's world, certainly with the near misses in health and safety, which I practice in as well. The near miss regime has been around for a very long time, and it goes to transparency, but just taking that to the software discussion, I'm thinking of a case I've dealt with recently. Mary had her fourth fall in as many months, but the risk assessment written when Mary came to the provider 2 years ago had not been updated. It's absolutely crucial that the care, which is something we've already talked about, is fluid. The revision of the care and the service provided is fluid, person-centred. So if Mary is, for whatever reason, stumbling more often, the organisation, the managers need to take a step back, look at the paperwork, the care profile, the risk assessments, and review those, but equally you've got the vehicle there with today's software to record the amendment to that risk assessment, and through my eyes, at least as importantly as reviewing that assessment, disseminating it to those that have the responsibility of care, because it is next to pointless in reviewing that care assessment, the risk assessment for Mary, if those people that have the day-to-day responsibility don't know, because they've come off a night shift and they missed the incident themselves. If they don't know that there's been another fall, then things will continue as they used to. But with the software now, you can provide the risk assessment upon Mary's arrival at the facility, be it 6-month review, 12-month, or even monthly if something is deteriorating or escalating.
It's about your handovers as well, and
It
when
is.
the new team comes
It
in.
is.
If the night shift's just finished and there's something like that's occurred, obviously you need to record it in your software or in your systems that you've got in place for evidencing incidents or the care that's been provided, but also it's down to that communication. Pretty much every incident of safeguarding, you can take it back to lack of communication, whether it's in the notes, the electronic notes, the digital notes, handover reports, actually face-to-face meeting and conversations and communication, and it all ties in. It's, yeah.
And dealing with it in a timely manner, so it comes in, deal with it.
Yeah.
We had one, not recently, but we had CQC, someone went to CQC, they contacted us, and I think they contacted the office around about 5:15 or something, when most people have gone, and so sent them all the information. They gave us, I think, 3 days to get the initial response. Sent them everything straight away, and I said, I'll send you the rest at 10 o'clock in the morning when everybody else is in the office. 9 o'clock next morning, we sent everything. They came back and went, okay, thank you, let us know if anything changes. That was it. Because the quick response and the evidence we showed them that wasn't just written up straight away. They had that at hand because of the amount of information they asked for. So you couldn't have written that if you stayed up all night. It was there for them. So you send them it and they're going, it's in a timely manner, I've done it. Oh, that's it dealt with, because they can see that you've done what you're doing. And I think they contacted us a week later just saying, is there any changes? Actually there was one, here's everything else we've done. In the meantime, because it was ongoing, they was happy. We got an email saying just keep us up to date now if anything else changes. And that's good, because you're being responsive and you've got all the information there. So